everyone. I am, of course, Christine Gutman, and this is Let's Talk About Brand. I do this show every single Friday at 12 noon Eastern, or whatever time it is where you are. Let us know. That's especially relevant this week because our guest is joining us from the UK, where it is 5 p.m. Let us know where you're joining us from in the world, but also where you're joining us from platform-wise. We are live right now on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Also, let us know if you're joining us live on Friday or if you are watching the replay. We love our replay viewers as well. And live viewers, be aware that we do want your questions, so please feel free to bring them on. This week's topic is branding on LinkedIn. A lot of people still have that mentality of LinkedIn being that old kind of static place to park your resume, but it is so much more than that. And even people who know that still aren't quite sure how to get in on the LinkedIn action. So we're going to be talking today about how to leverage LinkedIn to build your personal brand. We had a conversation about this on Twitter on Tuesday. Every single Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern time, we have my Twitter chat, #chat-about-brand, where we discuss the same topic as Friday's live show. Friday's live show has an expert guest. Today, our guest is the wonderful Sarah Clay, joining us from London. I've hung out with Sarah in London and in San Diego and in Newcastle upon Tyne, and she is a great person, and she is a fantastic LinkedIn expert. And one impression you will definitely get after talking to Sarah about LinkedIn is that LinkedIn does not have to be boring. You can showcase your personality on LinkedIn. Sarah certainly does. So without any further ado, let's bring on the lovely Sarah Clay. Yay!
Hey, Christine, it's so good to see you.
Gabe, it's interesting to see you. He says, so glad to see the amazing Sarah Clay. I know he's a great member of the LinkedIn Live community. So thank you for joining us. All right, Sarah. So first, I guess, I know we go back years and you used to be more of a social media generalist, and then you were kind of industry specific in small businesses. And in the past several years, you've made a really, really strong deep dive into LinkedIn specifically. So I'd love to start by asking you, why LinkedIn? Why did you decide that that was going to be your number one platform to help people with?
Good question. So I have my social media agency, and I was running social media accounts for lots of small businesses, mainly hospitality and other businesses aside. And I started sort of playing around with LinkedIn to get clients, to either train them or to look after their social media accounts. And I think I posted once, okay, or maybe it was twice, and it was December time, and I went to a Christmas party in my neighborhood, and the people there at the party going, Sarah, you're all over LinkedIn. It's like, I've only posted twice. And I realized that the reach on LinkedIn is huge. And then I started to get clients really without doing very much at all. So I thought, I rather like this. So I learned a bit more about it, and I absolutely love the platform, not only for getting business, because it happens all the time, but it's a fantastic community platform. And I'm looking here. So the wonderful Gabby, who I've met recently on LinkedIn, and, we're becoming friends, maybe collaborators, who knows what happens, but the chances and the opportunities to meet people on LinkedIn are huge.
Absolutely. And he's got a question right here. He's kicking it off, which is fantastic. We do want to hear from our live viewers. He wants to know, he said, how do you build a good LinkedIn profile if you're starting out on the platform? What is the vital information that you should include? And I'll preface this by saying I always recommend to people fill out as much as you possibly can. Like, the more complete it is, the algorithm loves that, and you're taking advantage of these opportunities to tell people about you. But Sarah, you work with people on their LinkedIns all the time. What are the real must-haves, especially things that people maybe overlook?
Good question, Gabby. Thank you. So, yeah, I always say to people when I'm working with people, do your profile first. Get that ready, get it finished, because it's your shop window. It's where people can, that's where they find out about who you are, what you do, and it's the first place they go. So even if you're posting amazing content, if somebody then wants to find out more about you and lands on your profile and it looks like a sort of derelict shop, then that's no good. So there are various aspects to your profile. There are many, 27 I think, but the key things are your banner, your big banner across the top, your photo, your headline, and your about section. So your about section is 2,600 characters. That's a lot. There's a lot to write. And my advice is to fill it up, because the longer you have people on your LinkedIn profile reading about you, the more they're getting to know you, the closer they feel to you, and it's building up that feeling of trust. So if somebody knows you, it's the whole know, like, and trust journey. So if you can present yourself in a way that appeals to your audience, that says something about you, why are you different? What's so special about you? Why should I work with you as a copywriter, let's say, as opposed to all the other copywriters? Why should I choose you over somebody else? So you've got to make sure that whatever you put in your profile really identifies who you are and why you're different from everybody else. And as I say, the longer you can keep people on your profile, the better for them to build that relationship, but also because it actually helps the algorithm recognize you as a really healthy LinkedIn, what I call a LinkedIn lovely, instead of a LinkedIn lurker. So get that profile filled out.
I love that about being a LinkedIn lovely instead of a LinkedIn lurker. And to that end, I mean, one of the greatest things I think about LinkedIn is that the algorithm really, really values people who engage a lot, even more than people who post a lot. A lot of people are like, I don't know what to post on LinkedIn. And it is good to post there, but I mean, engaging is really where it's at. So what do you recommend for people who are like, I go on to LinkedIn, I don't know what to do. So their profile is fine. They're just not sure how to become a more active user and what they should focus on. What do you recommend?
So that's really good advice. Commenting on people's posts is what's really going to help your reach on LinkedIn. It's going to help the number of connections grow, because if you start commenting on other people's posts, then their connections and their followers will see your comments. So it's a little bit like, because I liken most things to a party, because I like a party. It's a little bit like if you're at a party in one room and you stay in that room all the time, you're not going to meet people, you're not going to make friends, you're not going to make those connections. So it's a case of getting out of that room, cut out of the kitchen where your friends are, go into the living room, go and stand in the hallway and meet different people. And that's what you're doing when you're commenting on people's posts or meeting other people. So it all depends how much time you have. So whatever you can give to LinkedIn, give as much as you can in terms of time. But I advise my students so I have a LinkedIn Academy, which is my membership. And they've got a challenge for February, because February is the month of love. It's the month of relationships. So in my academy, my students are all building relationships in February. That's what it's all about. And I've told them to comment on 5 posts a day. Now, it doesn't sound much, but actually, if you're commenting with value and commenting positively and thinking about what you're commenting, it's not just a case of, this is lovely, wonderful picture, I like that. You want to comment with meaning, add value, start a conversation, carry on a conversation. So commenting on 5 posts a day, I would say, is a really good start. Okay, so that's my advice about commenting.
Awesome. I'm actually going to backtrack for a second because I just realized we do have a question from Tuesday's chat regarding profiles. Dave Bednar, who, by the way, is a great social media professional looking for a job, everyone. Dave Bednar, he is wondering, as a job seeker, what's your best advice for making sure that your LinkedIn profile stands out from the rest?
Right. Okay. So Again, it's about very, very clear messaging. So be very clear in your messaging, what it is that you're looking for. Use keywords. So keywords are the words which people will use when they're searching for your goods or your services. So if you're looking for a job as a social media manager, for example, you make sure you're using the words social media manager in your profile. It's like SEO. It's the same as SEO on a website. The other thing I would advise anybody looking for a job is to look at the company pages and the profiles of the employees of the companies that you want to work for, and see what they've written on theirs, and tailor your content and your profile so that it matches what they write on theirs. Because if that's how they write, they're going to like you to write in a similar way. So do a lot of research, do your research, look for those keywords on the pages and the profiles of the employers that you want to work with, and use those keywords in your profile. Okay.
I love that. It's a clear way of just showing that you belong, showing that you literally are speaking the same language.
Yes.
And this one I think is going to be quick for you. Joyce wants to know, what type of profile picture is best to use?
Oh my gosh, I do a whole workshop on profile photos.
Of course you do.
It's big. It's huge. What kind of profile photo? A recent one for sure. The rule with profile photos is, would they recognize you if they bumped into you in the street? Make sure that it's clear, it's easy to see. You're the only person in that photo. So many people make the mistake of they've been to a wedding, and they're looking their best. They've got the makeup on and their best outfit, and they'll have a group photo, and then they'll cut that out. So there's somebody's hand on their shoulder, or there's somebody else's shoulder in the background. It's about you. And make sure you're presenting yourself how you present yourself in that particular role that you're publishing on LinkedIn. So if you're a lawyer and you wear a suit and tie, wear a suit and tie in your photo. If you're a more creative person and you wear a t-shirt, then wear a t-shirt in your profile photo. But look approachable. Look approachable. You don't have to have a great big smile, if you're not a smiley person, but make sure you look like you're somebody who's nice to work with.
I love that. That's so key. People are like, oh, I have to look very serious, but you don't have to look, mean. Like, there's a line.
Yeah.
Let's see. I've got more questions from the Twitter chat on Tuesday, which was great. Debbie Norton wants to know, there's all sorts of new LinkedIn options, new features, new functions, new profile bits, new everything, especially in the past couple of years. So if we were to implement one new option on LinkedIn beyond static have a profile, what would you suggest? What do you think are the most important new options to be utilizing?
Good question. So creator mode came in, and I know people are getting their knickers in a twist over it. Don't worry about creator mode. It's no great deal at the moment. I think it will be. They'll introduce new features, but at the moment, don't worry about it. If you don't have it, or if you don't know what it is, don't worry about it. Two new features have come in recently. One is cover story, which is, it's a little bit like Harry Potter. It's when your profile photo comes to life and you've got 30 seconds to record a video. And it's a fantastic way of introducing yourself to your audience. So somebody goes to your profile, there's your photo, and then it turns into this little 30-second video that you've created. And it's a great, great tool for, as I say, introducing yourself to your audience. So I definitely would say, get that cover story recorded and uploaded. And the other thing which sits right next to cover story on your profile is the pronunciation tool. And this is 10 seconds to pronounce your name. Now, if you're like me and you talk very fast, a bit like Christine, you can squeeze a lot of other information into that 10 seconds. So make the most of it. Listen to other people's to get an idea of how they're using it, and then record yourself a pronunciation 10 seconds. And again, it's another way for people to get to know you. Audio is another thing that's come in really recently on LinkedIn. Not to everybody yet. I don't have it, which is slightly frustrating. And it's a little bit like Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces, and you can create audio rooms. So I think that's going to be big this year. I think it's going to be very big this year. So if you do get audio, have a look around at other audios. Go to Gabe Leal, I think, or Leal's profile, because he publishes every day what's happening in the audio world on LinkedIn. And listen, attend, go to those rooms, attend them, even if you can't set up your own. But audio, I think, is going to be big on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that seems to be the recurring theme on all sorts of channels. Our friend Suze Cooper is very well positioned for that, because she's been into that for a while. KD of DE wants to know, should LinkedIn be used as more of a job search engine, or could it be used for entertainment as a social media platform as well, like Instagram and Twitter?
Oh, yes. So you talked at the beginning about how LinkedIn has changed and how it's so different from how it used to be. You don't just throw your CV on there and leave it. It's about engaging. It's about building relationships, all of these wonderful things. And there is entertainment popping up on there. People are using LinkedIn Live as sort of entertainment channels as well. And it's a great way to get people engaged and to start building communities, really good communities. So yes, it is going that way. Definitely. It's still very much about business, about work. And about entrepreneurship, as well as about looking for employment, but using entertainment as a way to appeal to your audience, I think it's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. You can create wonderful, entertaining content like this show that is still business related. I have a question that is kind of a tricky one that I'm going to actually make broader, that someone had on the Twitter chat. Tiam wants to know, what's the winning recipe to becoming an influencer in the telecoms industry on LinkedIn? It doesn't have to be telecom specific, though. If people want to build influence on LinkedIn, what's a good way to go about that?
It's all about branding, Christine. All about branding. There it is. So it's establishing yourself as a brand and being consistent. And when I say consistent, you know what I mean with this, Christine. It's about being consistent with your brand. Here I am. Here's my orange. Here's my purple. You're always, always in red, Christine. And I love that. Whenever I think of you, I think of your big cherry earrings that you've got. And always everything's red. So it's about establishing that brand, but also being consistent in your tone of voice, what you talk about, what you post about, the kind of content you engage with. It's all about that. And the other consistency, of course, is showing up. So it's about showing up consistently and being there, because if people expect you to be there and then you're not, then they're going to feel disappointed. They're going to feel a little bit let down. So constantly being there, being yourself and engaging with other people, and it will happen. It's not going to happen overnight. This is, it's social media isn't a quick fix. And I think we've, lots and lots of people think, great, I can become an overnight success. Well, you can't, I'm afraid, not anywhere. It takes hard work and it takes time. So just keep going. And as long as you're constantly moving forwards, you're constantly adding value to people on LinkedIn, it will happen for sure.
Love that. And I also love your point about how it really is about showing up in such a consistent way, on a consistent basis, but in a consistent way, because that breeds trust. You don't necessarily have to be saying the most brilliant or original things, just, the fact that you're showing up in a consistent manner.
No, it's true. And it is, you're absolutely right. 100%. It's about building that trust. That's what it's about.
So Carrie has a very intriguing question. Carrie Eddins on Twitter. She wants to know, what are your biggest mistakes and breakthroughs you have made on LinkedIn? And I'm going to say that it doesn't even have to be you. It could also be something you've seen someone do, but breakthroughs, but also mistakes.
Crikey, mistakes I've made on LinkedIn. I'm sure I've made plenty.
Yeah, I can't really think of a whole lot of LinkedIn mistakes, but I'm sure they happen.
Oh, well, there are the biggest mistake that I see on LinkedIn. In fact, I was with a client this afternoon and they were saying it happens to them is spamming people and being salesy. So, you're on LinkedIn, you get a DM from somebody, buy my stuff. No, I'm not gonna buy your stuff because I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're selling. And do you know that I want it? It's ridiculous. So, and I get messages from people trying to sell me LinkedIn training. Now, either they haven't read my profile or I'm really rubbish at what I do. I'm not quite sure which. But being salesy at all on LinkedIn is an absolute no-no. That's not what LinkedIn is about. It's about building relationships. And those relationships then do turn to business if the person, requires your services at any time. But it's not being salesy. Please don't, just attack people in their DMs and try and sell to them straight away. It's like asking somebody to marry them on a first date. You wouldn't do that. Crazy. So yeah, that's the biggest mistake I see on LinkedIn.
And to that end, actually, I thought of my own biggest LinkedIn goof, which is that when I was first building my email list, I just added all my LinkedIn contacts because I was like, well, they're connected to me. They're cool hearing from me. No, it's separate. You need to ask permission. This was before GDPR was a thing. By the way.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But no, it's separate. You still need to get consent there. So don't spam people. Don't be salesy off the bat. What are some breakthroughs you've had on LinkedIn? Is there anything where once you sort of unlocked it and realized it, you were like, oh, this kind of changes everything?
Yeah, just remembered actually. So it was about content actually. So I post a lot of LinkedIn tips and tricks on LinkedIn and how-tos and, adding a lot of value to people. And one Sunday, I was sitting here at my orange desk working away and I looked up and I've got a little kitchen behind here. And I do show my little kitchen sometimes in little videos and things. And there was a box of tea. And it said, because I'm a huge tea drinker, being a Brit, it says something along the terms of smooth and mellow or something, Twining's English tea, smooth and mellow, something like that. And I just thought, oh, how would I describe myself if I was a tea? So I took a photograph of this box and it was yellow. It wasn't even my brand color. So I nearly didn't post it, but I decided to. And I just asked the question, if you were a brand of tea, how would you describe yourself? Oh my word, it went absolutely bonkers. And it was a Sunday afternoon. So LinkedIn is busy at the weekends, but not as busy as in the week. And people who I didn't know, 3+ connections, everybody was commenting. And it was a really, really good, fun, engaging post. And that's what made me realize that actually posting on LinkedIn it doesn't have to be you don't have to sit for hours and hours thinking, what am I going to write about? What am I going to write about? Because everything pretty much is a content opportunity. And it made me realize that. And you can post anything it was definitely relative to my audience because they all commented about it, but it's talking about slightly different stuff as well as this is my business. This is what I do. This is how I operate. It's generating conversations and building that community. And that was a real breakthrough moment for me, my tea box moment.
I might be pretty strong chai. I think I'm a little spicy. I'm caffeinated. I'm so
I like
and I'm sweet. What would you be?
What would I be? I think somebody actually described me as robust and engaging or something like that. Quite weird, but definitely the word robust came into it, which I thought was quite interesting.
I love that. So last call for live questions, folks. Joyce has another one. She said, I've heard LinkedIn, some professionals describe LinkedIn as a yearbook media platform. Kind of your collection of, these are people you did stuff with. Is that good or bad? I view it as a networking platform. Any suggestions on how to respond to a comment like that? And I would ask you further, Sarah, any suggestions for people who think of it like that as just kind of a directory versus a more active place to network?
Oh, I see. Yes, because yearbooks are more of an American thing. We don't really use them so much over here. But so just kind of like a filing kind of system. No. No, it's for engaging. It's for, yes, it's of course it's for meeting people, but it's not just for them to sit on the shelf and just be names. No, it's about building relationships with those people and getting to know those people. And that's what's so brilliant about LinkedIn. So definitely use it in that way. Tim Lewis, hello, lovely Tim Lewis. It is definitely the human connections that count. Absolutely 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Final question on the live broadcast is our lovely Gabe wants to know how did you pick your brand colors? And I know for a fact that you're like me, where it's just you live it. It's not just for the camera.
My kids are so funny.
Brand colors.
Yeah, absolutely. I do live it. My kids, at the weekend, if we're going out for lunch or dinner or going out somewhere, they're like, oh, Mom, it's a Sunday. Why can't you wear black? I'm like, well, A, I don't really have much black. And B, there might be a photo opportunity. You just never know. So, and these colors make me happy. So, Gabe, you want to know how that happened? Okay, so purple is my absolute favorite color. My wedding dress was purple. I love purple, always have loved purple. And when I set up my social media agency, purple, there's no question that it was going to be anything but purple. So that was what it was going to be. Anyway, we have a wall, this color, going down our stairs, down to our lower ground floor in the house, down to the kitchen. And I needed a photo for my profile. And I was like, oh, I just want one now, anything. And my husband said, well, look, I'll take a picture of you standing here in front of the orange wall. So he did. That became my first profile photo when I set up all my social media channels. And that's how it was born. There you go. That's the answer.
I love it. And the final question is that Tuesday, Wholesome Media wanted to know what you use to keep your hair so darn fabulous. I'm sure it's been a journey.
My hair, yeah, it has. Hang on. I'm looking for photos. But I used to have massive hair. So for those Brits among us, Crystal Tips and Alistair is a reference. So Christine, go and check out Crystal Tips and Alistair. Crystal Tips is a cartoon character, and she had huge hair, and it was purple, actually. It was the same color as my phone, kind of pale purple. And my hair was like that. It was huge, massive, great big hair, and my little eyes would peep out like that because I'm only quite short. And then I had it cut. It stays like this because it just stays like this. This is how it looks in the morning, and this is how it looks when I go to bed. There you go.
Well, it is fabulous. It is so very, very you, and it's certainly more interesting that if you decided to just kind of like have it stick straight with the blonde highlight. No,
I did try.
It's not you.
I had it straightened.
Mm-hmm.
I did have it straightened once, and I went for dinner at friends, and my friend said, your hair's different. I said, I had it straightened, and he said, you need to get your money back. Because it just looked a bit different. It wasn't straight at all.
Oh, goodness. Well, it's fabulous, and you are fabulous.
Before we stop, there's a comment that I want to talk about.
Absolutely.
From wonderful, wonderful Craig Langley, Craig, I don't think I've replied to your lovely voice DM that you posted, that you sent me this week. Further down, Christine, Craig has said, consistently showing up to post and comment is so hard when I get busy with clients. Yes, it is. So I want to ask you a question, Christine. How would Craig overcome that?
I would say just realize it doesn't have to be perfect and pre-planned. Look at what people are talking about on your feed. Make sure you're following good people, have good people in your network. And LinkedIn gives you a lot of help with that. They're constantly in the notifications and in your feed. They're like, oh, people in your network found this interesting. Maybe you want to comment on it. Someone in your network posted this. Maybe you want to comment on it. They're constantly putting these things in your face. So, first of all, make sure that your LinkedIn is tailored to your interests and your needs, that your network is relevant, that you are seeing relevant people on your feed. You can improve that by engaging with things. That informs the algorithm, what you find interesting. So do more of that and you'll find better stuff. And you can just pop on for a minute and comment on things. And if you're looking at things with an eye towards inspiration, you'll discover that there's inspiration for content everywhere. Maybe you see something someone posted and it creates an idea in your own head, and you have something that you decide you want to ask your own network about. Maybe something's happening in your life and you're like, there's something in that. I wonder what other people think about this. But post with an eye towards conversation, and go onto the platform to begin with an eye towards conversation. Don't think of it like some platforms or some traditional marketing where it's like, I have to put something out there for people to consume. Go into it with an eye towards, what conversations can I have that are actually going to be worth someone's, minute and a half as they're scrolling.
Great answer, but not the one I was expecting.
Ooh. Tell me what you were expecting. There's so many perspectives.
It begins with an A and it rhymes with Agorapulse.
Oh, yeah.
Schedule your content in advance.
That is true. And Agorapulse is one of the few social media softwares that actually does consistently let you post to LinkedIn. A lot of them don't have a good connection with LinkedIn, and Agorapulse does. Agorapulse also has great connections with Instagram, and even on some plans with Google My Business, which I don't think anyone does. So yes, Agorapulse is great. For those who don't already know, I work for Agorapulse now. But I have been using them for many years when they were not paying me. So yes, Agorapulse.
Yeah, so I use Agorapulse, and it's great because I can schedule to my company page and I can schedule to my personal profile and to Instagram and Facebook and all of the others as well.
So, that's another thing not everything lets you do.
I would happily give you an Agorapulse walkthrough and show you how it works. Very happy.
Man.
You cannot comment. You have to comment on the platform. But for scheduling your posts, you can use Agorapulse.
I agree. Very well said, Sarah. I love that. All right. And that's great because you can also come up with a whole bunch of things and like batch create and just pop them, throughout the month. Like Tuesday here, Thursday here, boop, boop, boop. And it's great. You only have to think once. All right. So Sarah, tell everyone where and how they can and should find you.
I like that. They can find me on LinkedIn. So I am on LinkedIn every day, probably. And you can come find me on LinkedIn. I'm Sarah Clay on LinkedIn. Sarah-Clay is my URL. I also have a website, which is Sarah Clay Social, which is sort of left over from my social media days. Those are the best places to find me. That's where you can find me.
Very nice.
I'm in the party, Tim. Absolutely. Unless I want the network.
I highly recommend. Oh, find you in the kitchen at parties. I can't wait to be at another party with you, Sarah. And that's happening in a month at Social Media Marketing World. Yes. So excited. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being on. I will talk to you soon, of course, I hope. And thanks so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you for having me, Christine. Always a pleasure.
And as I mentioned at the top of the show, we do this show every single week. And we have a Tuesday Twitter chat, Tuesday, 12 noon Eastern time. That's always on the same topic as the Friday show. So next Tuesday's topic, we are talking about branding events. There are so many events, or at least there used to be, and they're coming back, and especially virtual events too. I mean, it's very easy for them to sort of blend into each other. So you really want to make sure that your event, especially if it is being run by a company or a business or a product or whatever, stands out from the others. So what are those elements, those extra little details that you can do to make sure that your event stands out and feels like your business? And so we're going to be discussing that on Twitter on Tuesday. I'm very eager to hear everyone's experiences and their own opinions on how to do that. And then on Friday, we're going to be talking with someone who does it better than anybody else does, Mr. Phil Mershon. Phil, for those who don't know, is one of the masterminds of Social Media Marketing World. Social Media Marketing World is my favorite event that I go to every year. I call it my Super Bowl. It's happening next month. So I'm especially grateful that Phil is giving us some of his time next Friday during what is his busiest season. So we're going to hear from Phil next week about branding an event, and I hope you will join us. Thanks. Bye.